I'm going to RV around for the next 3 or 4 years, and I'm going to buy a shitload of real estate while I do it. And so like, that's my plan. I mean, I want to buy $20 million worth of stuff in the next 3 years, additionally to what we already have. That is my goal. Now, how am I going to achieve that? I don't know yet. And so what is it going to look like? I don't know. But I fully intend on doing it.
How do you find the will to fight back against the world that wants to keep you sedated, average, and stuck in place? Join us for the tools and strategies you need to create a life of abundance, discipline, and high achievement. This is the Tactical Empire with Jeff Smith.
Welcome to another episode of the Tactical Empire. I'm joined by Sean. What's up, man? How are you?
Not much. I'm solid. We're heading into summer. Weather's been strong. The grass on our 2-acre lot is green, which means I get to do one of the only 2 things that gives me instant gratification, which is mowing the lawn. You know what it is, guys. That's why I shave my head, and it's why I mow my own lawn. It's the only 2 things that give me instant gratification as a business owner and real estate investor. Everything else takes way too much time to get instant gratification.
That's a fact. That's a fact, man. That is good. I'd shave my head too.
I see. And one benefit that I haven't mentioned on any of the previous episodes, now that you're on the road, which I'm assuming on the road, when you hit an RV park, you guys are outside a lot more. Your tan is top-notch pookie right now. So love it. On fire.
Thank
on
you.
fire.
Yes. We spend a lot of time outside. So
your tan is on point. Look how white I look.
I did not think I could get any darker than living in Houston, but we are there.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a long summer.
It looks good. I actually got a tan, from being in Disney last week, and I don't look anything close to what you look. So you probably are even darker in person.
Yeah.
You just need to get some white strips for your teeth. Just your teeth are white, but you need to make them like crystal white. Yeah, and so like when you smile, it just blinds people.
So the contrast is alarming.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I just need you to dye your beard black too. Just make it like dark, super dark black. Awesome, man. Well, we've been hammering out some strong episodes. We are, in June by the time this airs. So this is this would be the last month of Q2, which means people should be reassessing how far they've gone in their 90-day plans. We just dropped the previous podcast episode on, the importance of 90-day planning. And then it kind of evolved into a 3-year vision and 25-year vision exercise and the importance of those. But when we get feedback, Jeff, from listeners, a lot of the listeners like to hear about the specifics of what you and I are working on. So while we'll drop episodes on what we're working through, what we've worked through, what habits are we doing, it's been a bit since we've actually talked specifically in detail about our current projects. And we allude to how some things have changed in our lives. So let's just go ahead. We're wrapping up Q2 here in the next 30 days. What are the projects you're currently working on, excited most about, problems that you've had to work through and solve that you might still be trying to solve, big actions that you've had to take? It's going to put the ball in your court, my man. What is Jeff Smith doing besides RVing across the country with his family?
Yeah, I've had a crazy quarter. I've told everybody in the group that I've worked on this stuff for like a year, and it all came to culmination in like a 2-week period. So it's been a little stressful. This particular quarter, my real goals were to close on the storage facility, buy it, start the rehab.
Which Jeff raised $800,000 of other people's money to do. I don't want to skim over that for people that are maybe early first-time listeners or so.
Yeah, I mean, that was part of it. I had to do a significant capital raise to put that deal together, and which I did in that quarter. Sell our house, buy a truck, buy an RV, buy another RV, sell an RV, and get on the road, essentially. So I kind of, it's funny because I say all that shit, but I really didn't set a lot of goals because like I knew that we were going through this transition in this quarter for full-time RVing, and I knew that that was going to take some adjustments, if you will. And so the hardest thing for me has been just like getting a routine, and sticking to my like consistency, which is good, which has been fairly easy, but like adjusting to life on the road is a little different. And then also figuring out how the work cadence is going to go. Like what days am I doing what days am I working? What days am I doing phone calls? What days am I coaching and doing Zoom, blah, blah, blah. And so that has been a bit of an adjustment for me, just because we haven't had any real service connection issues, except last week when I was recording the podcast, I could only get one in. And then for some reason, my internet dropped and I couldn't do a second one. I kept freezing. But I'm really looking forward to using the month of June to dial in like this life that we're in now, because I mean my aspirations are I'm gonna RV around for the next 3 or 4 years, and I'm gonna buy a shitload of real estate while I do it. And so like that's my plan. And so I mean I want to buy $20 million worth of stuff in the next 3 years, additionally to what we already have. And so that is my goal. Now, how am I going to achieve that? I don't know yet. And so what is it going to look like? I don't know. But I fully intend on doing it. And so, yeah, my biggest thing has just been getting my consistency down in how we're going to operate on the road, and how am I going to do both? Enjoy all the experiences with my kids and also manage all these things that I'm trying to manage. And it's no different. I've been pulled in this direction my entire life, if you will. But it is a little different adjusting to like a new change as far as like how we're living.
What's something that's surprising? And you don't have to label it good or bad or positive or negative. What is something that's surprising? And get granular here in detail. What's something that's surprising? It doesn't matter how big or small either. That surprised you of like life on the road that you didn't recognize maybe a thing.
Well, I know for a fact that travel days are like days that we're driving or traveling or doing a couple 100 miles. I don't manage my phone well, meaning like my dash on my truck reads text messages to me and stuff like that, and I don't respond. And if you get as many text messages as I do, which is like a fucking 100 a day at least, and like you might text me at 8 a.m. I might be in my truck driving. I see it, I acknowledge it, and then I never respond to it because it's so far down. Like if you use your phone to scroll on the messages, my wife just taught me you could pin text messages like 5 days ago. No shit. I didn't know you could do that. And I literally get all these texts. So I didn't, I'm really unorganized on travel days. It's really disruptive to me. So I have to do a better job at that. I did not expect that. But if you're driving for 6 or 8 hours a day and I'm not on my phone when I'm doing that. And as someone who operates almost exclusively from text and not phone calls, it's not like I pick up my phone and call somebody while I'm in the truck. So I may have to change that, but that's one thing that has been very disruptive to me personally. So I have to figure that out.
I never got to ask you, what was the main decision? It may be a super easy answer, like to have a truck that's pulling a pull behind Brinkley. So your whole family's in the truck on travel days. In my mind, it's like, man, that's a lot of sitting. It almost feels like a wasted day in my mind, because I know when my family travels more than 6, 7, 8 hours, depending on when we get on the road, the day might be done. As opposed to getting like a driving RV with a pull along little smaller vehicle to navigate through towns once you're actually parked. What was the decision there?
Well, keep in mind, this is our 4th RV. We've had all of them. Our last RV, we own a drivable RV right now, including the one I own that I'm sitting in. But we own another one, and it's back in Houston. It's getting sold right now. And so we've done them all. The reason that we got a fifth wheel was because of the living quarters. So like they're the only ones with divided spaces. Like we looked at getting like a Class A diesel pusher, which is like a bus. You know what I'm talking about? Like those, and they just don't work for a family of 6 because the reason that this works, this layout, is because we have a bedroom in front that's my wife and I's bedroom where I'm working out of. Okay. And then the next area, imagine it's like 3 areas. The next area is like the family room, living room area. And then at the back of the unit is a 14-foot garage with elevating bunk beds that the kids use and like a reading nook and stuff like that. So they have their whole area back there. So it delineates like 3 separate living spaces. If you get a drivable, it's all wide open and it's one like big room, if you will. And so, and the beds in those situations, you have to like use jackknife sofas and stuff like that. They don't have their own, like our kids right now have 4 beds that are made and like they never don't have that. And so you think about having to use like a couch that you're making a bed at night. And then in the morning you pull all the sheets off and you put them somewhere. And then you have to make that fucking bed every night type thing. So this just worked. My wife also, you don't know this, I guess, is driving an SUV. She's got her Expedition and I'm driving as well. So we have 2 cars. We have a truck and an SUV.
Did not know that.
Yep.
Why would that be? Just because of space or versatility, flexibility in case there's an emergency? Or
for now, we were like, let's bring it and let's figure out, like, we didn't know what we don't know. And so now like 2 of the kids ride with me, 2 of the kids ride with her. It gives them some separation from each other as well. We've got a big ass dog. It's just easier for right now to do that. And so I mean, I thought that there's benefits to it because like if I did break down or if I did have an issue on the road, like we've got a separate car, which is nice. You don't sit on the road for 6 fucking hours waiting for AAA or whatever. And so we also have rules that we don't travel more than like 300 miles in a day. So like, because this thing's kind of a fucking, it's a bitch to haul. And, because I mean, it's 45 feet long. My truck's 11 feet long or something. Like I'm as long as a semi trailer. And so it's a big unit. So we're not doing long days necessarily. And with right now, I didn't buy a reserve tank for my diesel. So I can only get like 300 miles on my actual tank because I only get 7 miles to the gallon pulling it. And so until I am going to buy a reserve tank, which is going to be in the near future, I can only go without stopping like for 5 hours. Yeah. And so you think about having to stop and having to always consider, like I go to truck stops and shit like that because then you're not in the Chick-fil-A parking lot with this monstrosity.
Yeah.
And so.
Well, yeah, that changes the fact that you guys have more than one vehicle along. That changes the vision I've had in my head this entire time of travel days. Now, does Kirsten go ahead of you guys and get to the destination, or does she have to travel as slow as what your vehicle is going to move with that thing?
No, she drives right behind me usually.
Oh, I'd fucking fall asleep. The first time I had to follow my dad driving from Hanover, PA to Boone, North Carolina, the first time I was moving down to college at App State, he decided to be a right lane driver the entire time going the speed limit. And I like fell asleep because it was just too slow. Fell asleep. The first time I ever fell asleep behind the wheel, and especially in the middle of the day. Not good.
So, go ahead. Sorry. Go ahead.
I was gonna say I didn't wreck. I hit the rumble strips and woke up. It was like an hour outside. We were on the road for like 8 hours. But over the 4 years of being in college, I started making it home. And I think the fastest I ever made it home was 6 hours. And that was not stopping one time. Pretty wild to make it that far in 6 hours. Anyways, awesome. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, so I'm really looking forward to the next quarter and like sitting down and setting our goals and things like that. We got a business conference that I'm putting on with Nick Komalatsis at the end of June. We've got some really exciting things coming. The storage is moving along. and doing all the trash out. I'm looking forward. Next quarter will be stabilization and lease up for that. And I'm looking forward to going gangbusters on that. I may be building out SOPs and scripts for our, like a call center, if you will. But we'll just be bringing on internal call reps to do that lease up. And so that's going to be interesting. And I've got a bunch of shit I don't know how to do, and I'm going to have to figure it out. So next quarter is going to be a lot of lessons learned for me. And
well, that was going to be my next question, because that's like the project you're working on. That's your professional investing project outside of, your personal and what your family's doing. So the storage unit, you raised the capital, you closed on it. You mentioned on maybe the previous podcast, I don't think it was this one already, we're running into them, that electricians on site, you're getting security quotes out there. So people are on site doing work. You just said you're getting all the trash out. So they're tearing down or getting trash out. So you guys are moving along there. What does the next, obviously next quarter, you just stipulated what you wanted to get done, but like, what does the next 2 to 3, 4 weeks look like for that project?
Well, they'll do the clean out. Then we've got garage door guys coming out. Metal workers are going to do sheeting for the roof, and electricians are going to be out as well. Like I said, we're hanging new lights. The whole facility's getting new lights, and then we've got to pour some concrete driveways. We've got 4 separate driveways. We got to get a gate and an entrance for that. So like just navigating project management from my standpoint and coordinating with my partner, Jason, on it, and making sure that the work's getting done. We've got a really great GC running the project. He's really communicative and sends us videos and shit every day of what's going on. And so we get a lot of feedback from him. And he's doing all the permitting process with the city and jumping through all those hoops for our concrete job that needs done. And I'm just working back end operations. Like I've got to figure out if we're going to get, like, how are we going to manage a call center? Is that a third party thing? Do we have the resources to do it? If we have the resources to do it, then I've got to build out all the call scripts, and I've got to train the call reps as well if we're doing it internally. But internally would be the most cost effective probably. So I'm leaning at probably doing that. I talked to Derek about the viability of using his people and shit like that. So I'm having some conversations with some guys that run call centers already to see like what we're looking at. But I'm estimating that we're going to have like reps running from 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. Just hang a sign on the fence for pre-leasing once we start getting moved along with the remodel a little bit, because storage is unique in that like really your audience is from like a 3 to 5 mile radius. And like, because proximity is what matters to the thing. Yeah. Like people don't want to store their shit 30 miles from their residence. So they either live or work within 3 miles, 5 miles of the facility.
Fantastic.
And so I'm definitely looking forward to that and seeing what's next, because it's already, that storage remodel is already opening up the next deal. Yeah. And so like we're already getting approached with a bunch of other opportunities. And so I'm really looking forward to what the next one looks like. But I mean, I don't want to move too fast. We've got a lot of lessons to learn. Like I'm talking to you about, like I've got to figure out how to crack the code on some of this shit. Like one thing I didn't know, because when we originally had like brainstormed this rehab, like I wanted these fucking amazing gates that were like total deterrents for theft and like intimidating. And what I've learned over time is that you don't want that actually. Like as the owner, you want the path of least resistance almost, meaning like I know people now in the storage community that own like no gates on their facilities. Like you can just walk right up to the door. And so because ultimately they'll get through anything if they have the intention to get through anything. Like your money is better spent on great cameras and great lighting, because those are the 2 biggest deterrents for theft and vandalism and shit like that. And so we've focused on that. Fortunately, the whole thing's chain link already. So like now that I've learned that, we're going to bring a chain link guy in and fix the current chain link. Is there any breaks? We're going to stabilize it, but it's the cheapest option. So like that was a huge win for us as far as like not needing to put in some fucking fortress style fencing. And so the great thing about chain link also is that like anybody could fix it. Like there's a million chain link guys. If you bring in some cast iron fence and you have it built custom and then somebody rams their car through it, you're probably only going to have one guy that can fix it. The same company that probably built it in the first place, and it's probably going to be expensive. So just little shit like that.
The difference between buying a Toyota Camry and the highest performing vehicle. The more expensive vehicle is going to cost you more expensive to repair because very few people can work on it. And that's coming from a car. It's coming from a car guy, so I may not know what the hell I'm talking about. But,
what are you working on, my man?
Yeah, so similar to you, but I would just say at a smaller scale. It's like you're getting into the storage unit space, raising capital, adding value, turning it over, and new opportunities present itself. So I've mentioned on other podcasts what I'm most excited about right now that's new from an investment standpoint is the partnership with Justin in the Inner Circle. He's got experience doing like at least 30 doors in Texas for burring, buy, rehab, renting, refi, and repeating. And he can only move as fast as he and his other financial partners can fund deals. So in order for him to expand his reach, he needed another partner. So that partner is going to be I. And we just went under contract on our first property in Waco. Real quick finances. It was listed at 75 grand. We got it for 62.5. It's going to be about $45,000 of rehab. So we're looking at 107,000 in with a after rehab value of like 175. He did verbalize that he found a local lender that can definitely do 80% LTVs, potentially 85% LTVs, which perked my ears up if we could do that to get as much money back as possible. So, you put 107 in, get 137, 140 back minus some fees for closing, and you can walk away with more money than what you put in. So I'm excited about that. But like I've said on other podcasts, I don't know what I don't know, and I don't viscerally feel the positive effects of something until I see the money flow back. So I'm assuming that on the first, I really want to get the second property as fast as possible. And he's working on that. He's got a list of 4 properties right now. We went under contract on one. We're trying to go under contract on the second. If I can get that money deployed in those 2 properties quickly, and the first one is only, he estimates about a 6-week turnaround on the rehab. So guesstimate another couple weeks for a renter and refi. If we can get in and out of that and in 2 months, and maybe similar with the next property, that means I can turn this money over every 60 to 90 days. Once I see and feel that, that'll excite me even more, which means I'll be open to deploying more capital into it and finding access to capital to move that project faster. Yeah. So that's why I say, like, if you listen to the other podcasts, I'm like, well, 10 to 20 properties. And I say that because I haven't done it yet. So I'm hoping for 20, but it's at least 10 is the goal. So if I'm looking at a good, better, best model, I got to feel the first 2 before I can really gauge how quickly we can get to 20. So I'm excited about that. In order to do that, I did choose to sell one of our 3 short-term rentals. All 3 of our short-term rentals do fantastic. And what we were working on in the previous 90-day plan was to cash out refi one that we had not mortgaged over the past year and a half. So there's a lot of pent up equity in that. I was going to try and get 75% of the money out of that. But after the Birmingham meetup with the Tactical Empire Inner Circle, I just came to a realization that I would much rather have all the capital back on that property. It is a great property. It is the oldest property. I have been very fortunate not to have any issues with it. It was remodeled decently before we bought it, but I didn't have any issues with it. But it's still a 45-year-old property. And the other 2 are way newer, under 2 years old. So we decided to liquidate that, get all of our money back. We are coming out a little ahead. It is under contract right now. And as of yesterday, they cannot void the contract. They still only have the financing, but they were pre-approved for like 2 times what the cost of the house was. So hopefully, knock on wood, there's no way that they can get out of this contract. So we're hopefully going to do that. They can't close for another 45-ish days. So that's not going to happen till mid or end of July. So I will be able to benefit from getting rents from the property for another month and a half, 2 months. I'm excited about that, but I'm more excited about getting that capital and deploying it into the BRRRR. The little extra that's left over is going to go to pay off two outstanding life insurance loans that I have, and a little bit of a HELOC that I have outstanding. The reason why I have life insurance loans outstanding and a HELOC outstanding is for the other project that my wife and I are working on, is we are opening up a Metabolic franchise locally. Metabolic is a strength-based interval training fitness gym. They do a really good job. They're smaller, not too well known across the country yet. There's only 33 locations open, but there's over 100 that have signed franchise agreements. So over the next 2 to 3 years, there's going to be rapid growth with this franchise model. It's something that I love. So right now we're working through funding. We funded the franchise agreement. We funded the pre-opening budget spend. We funded the marketing materials for flyers and the tent and things that we need for grassroots events. I'm working on a local sponsorship of a pretty highly used pickleball court. I think that's going to be a fantastic potential way of advertising. Working on that. And then Metabolic, as we talked with Anthony Hudson, who came on with Franchise Sidekick, he said there's big differences between franchises. And if you start diving down the rabbit hole with one and they don't have a support system for you, he's like, there's plenty of franchises where they just take your money and then they just send you the SOP and you got to do everything by yourself. Those are not the ones you want. And thankfully that Metabolic has a really strong corporate team. There's a 175 step process to open. And so we're just working through, some of those are really short modules. Some of those are bigger ticket items. This is the first time I've had to deal with architects and build out and negotiating. We have a really good lease, but it's not like it's in place, but it's not finalized because we need the build out details to finalize the actual finances of the lease. So that's a first for me. So whereas you working through this stuff with the storage unit is a first for you, dealing with architects and dealing with architects and also a corporate franchise, I'm kind of like the middleman right now. So that's something that I don't enjoy doing, but it's a learning process. So if I do it again, or if I mentor someone that has to do it, I definitely have learned plenty of lessons already, positive lessons that will help me become a better mentor and coach to people that might look at a franchise model. We thought we'd be able to open this summer, but thankfully that's probably not going to happen. And I see that as a positive now because summer's just crazy for us, right? We have a week-long summer vacation. So why leave when you just open a business? So, we're looking at, I would be happy with mid-September. It might not open in mid-September. It might open in mid-October. But again, just like you, I'm doing the work that's in my control. I'm checking off boxes. I'm checking off the boxes that I'm required to do. I have no control over how long drawings take. I have no control over supply chain issues for build out. I have no control over the order of operations for the other tenants in the building that are getting built out right now because it's a brand new commercial building. So there's other tenants that are ahead of me. But I'm very hopeful. The team is hopeful. The builder's hopeful. The property manager's hopeful. The architect is hopeful that things are going to be moving along very quickly here. The customized equipment purchase, that does take about 90 days. So we're getting that in this week. So I am going to wire some money to get that order placed. So, it's interesting because I built a gym from scratch with basically no support and help over 7-8 years. And then we maintained it for an additional 4 to 5 years. So 12-year gym ownership. This is different because I'm getting everything I need before opening. We've already hired a GM that worked in a franchise fitness space for a year and a half and learned a ton from them. We hired a lead trainer who fits the bill of what we needed and will be available when we need them. And we have 4 part-time coaches already on the hook. We're going down to Charlotte, North Carolina at the end of June for 2 days of training. So that's what I'm working on, man. I'm moving. I'm changing our investment real estate portfolio slightly. just to diversify a bit, recapture some of that sitting equity.
Yep.
It's going to decrease our cash flow. We talked about the difference between short-term rentals and long-term rentals. It's going to decrease our cash flow in the short term, but I think over the long term, being able to cycle the money more than 1 or 2 times is going to be highly beneficial for us over the next 3 to 5 years. And then ultimately opening up the Metabolic is like the sexy project that we're working on right now. It does have huge potential. I think it's filling a space, not only in the fitness space across the country, but more specifically in our town. There's really only traditional commercial gyms to go to, CrossFit gyms, and an Orange Theory. We're not a big city, so we don't have 50 different models for 50 people to choose from. So looking at what's in our town, this fills a huge void for safe, structured strength training with accountability and in an awesome, badass brand culture environment. I freaking love Metabolic's culture and brand. So we're going to hammer that out, Jeff. That's what the riders are working on. That's what summer looks like for us, is getting these projects moving forward.
I love it. I'm really looking forward to, I forgot to mention that Justin and I are putting out a course, like get your next or your first property in 60 days. And we're going to be running guys through that. And that's going to start sometime in the next month. And I'm super excited about that because we talk in all these overarching macro descriptions of education, and we're going to distill it down into like the micro of like step by step by step. This is what you need to do to get your property. Because I mean, we've seen guys come in the group for years that are like gung ho, I'm going to get to 10 houses, 20 houses like you. And they're like, I don't even know where to start. And we're going to give them every single bit of it as far as underwriting deals, what looks like a deal, the pros and cons of burring properties versus turnkey properties, where to get lending, all that stuff. So I'm pretty excited about rolling that out with him and having that resource and the asset built in our back end for good with regards to coaching. I think it's going to answer a lot of our guys' questions. It's going to give you a great starting point when you come into the group on like this, do this first. And I'm looking forward to that. So
yeah, I think that's huge. And thank you for bringing it up, because we both didn't mention anything of what we're working on with the Tactical Empire. We mentioned personal things outside of that, but I think that's a big thing for the Tactical Empire in the next 90 days is, one, getting that Burr course up and running and people going through it. That's why I partnered with Justin. I was highly impressed with what he's already done in that space and the presentation he gave with you in at the Birmingham meetup. But you know, like it's not always about doing new things. So for me, you know, obviously I specialize in infinite banking and helping people with their personal finances and short-term rentals in the Tactical Empire. So whichever men come into the group or are already in the group that want me to take a look at their personal finances, educate them on infinite banking, get them rolling with my agent to get their policies up and running so they can create their own family banks. And then whether they want to learn about short-term rentals, I can help them, or they want to learn about the Burr method and long-term rentals, you know, Justin and you and your course is going to help with that. But ultimately we're going to help men create their own bank and get real estate like that. Like what does the Tactical Empire do? We do a few things, but ultimately like what we're doing is getting people to create their own banks and buy real estate. Yes, we want them to be healthy. Yes, we want them to date their wives. Those are non-negotiables. But for the most part, we're really good at helping people do those two things. And the third is building big ass businesses if they're involved in that. You don't have to be a business owner to be involved in Tactical Empire, but that's something that everyone in there that is coaching right now has experience doing. So feel free to mention anything I missed there, Jeff. But that's our you know, special course.
Yeah, that was rock solid, man. We're just going to put more information out there and keep building the community within the group. I mean, you're seeing it now, like what's happening now with the joint ventures and the partnerships and things. I think that's momentum that's only going to continue to build because all that does is speed people up. We're actually working on a funding source and being able to inject capital into the projects within the group. And so like, if we get that, I think that would be I don't see any reason that there's negatives for that right now. Meaning like, is there a source for you to become a lender or me to become a lender to other guys in the group as well? I think there's a lot of opportunity there as well. So, I mean, it's fun to see the guys stepping out and taking action, in which they're doing. So that's good. I'm excited to watch your venture grow, and both the gym and the portfolio. I mean, the real estate doesn't feel as sexy, but it's definitely something you will not regret in 5 years. I guarantee you.
I mean, I'm not naive. The real estate has the longevity, the stronger longevity bloodline to it. So I'm excited about that, even though it is not. It was funny. I'm so used to showing people my sexy short-term rentals.
Yeah.
Right. And they are sexy. Like, they look great. And so it's fun to show them that. And then when I was at that little picnic yesterday with some people, they asked me what I was doing. I said about real estate, and like the first property that my wife pulled out and the neighbor lady pulled out, they showed the piece of shit Waco property that we're fixing. And it was the first time I had ever saw someone's reaction to looking at a piece of shit property. Like, look what I just bought. And I was like, wait. Like, I need to show you my short-term rentals. Like, let's start there. I was almost embarrassed that I was buying a piece of shit property for the first time in my life. I was like, but that's going to look like a brand new house by the time it's done. It was like, I was almost apologizing for spending money on something that's so ugly.
I could have projected that.
You can see like the people were smiling, and then they showed them the phone, and you could almost see like they were trying to hide their frown to go down. I was like, wait. Let me explain what's happening here. But no, I'm pumped for the Tactical Empire. You and I have an awesome meeting scheduled for the next 2 days to talk about how we can provide better opportunities for the men in the group. And one thing that I kind of, like, the education doesn't really change. So like we do like have to rinse and repeat the things that we're teaching the people. But what we have to do is provide them with more opportunities to make taking those steps easier. And I think you touched on that. I think that's going to feed into our meeting later this week. So that's guys, that was me and Jeff Smith being an open book on what we're working on in our personal lives, personally and professionally, and also what we're working on in the Tactical Empire. So hopefully you guys enjoyed our banter back and forth and have a little more insight into the fact that we're out there doing the thing. We're not sitting behind computers, just pumping content out without actually making changes, executing, implementing, and trying to grow bigger portfolios. We are doing it every single day.
Yep, absolutely. Hit us up if you have any questions, guys. Join us at the Tactical Empire community on Facebook. You can catch us on Instagram, DM us any questions if you have, and have a great week. Kick ass. Love your kids.